Sure, you are listening to On the Topic. And this week, I want to take you back to a simpler time. Power Rangers, Pogs, PlayStations, Nintendos, Furbies, Brill Cream, nail CDs, Alex is looking at me, cassette tapes, VHS, blockbusters, the sound of dial-up, and the static when you turn on the television. Feeling nostalgic yet? I'm Dan.
CD players, Netscape, dial-up, it's all there. I'm Alex, and yeah, we've been teasing this a while, and fair to say, you guys have really come for us. You've really come out the bag, and you've come in your droves to contribute to what is going to be the best of the 90s, Vol.1.
You have come out punching.
Yeah,
punching in bunches.
And it's going to be a good one. Maybe because I guess looking at our data, a lot of you guys are of a similar age to us. I'm not quite sure why. Perhaps it's just happenstance or the way we talk or the things we cover. But either way, a lot of you were affiliated in some way to the 90s. It looks like you're loving it as much as we are. Because at the moment, Dan, there's been somewhat of like an underground 90s revival, hasn't there?
Yes.
Look at the music.
Vinyls are a big thing now, but I'd probably say they're probably more, would you say, 80s?
No, 90s, I think you're right. And actually, they're taking more of a resurgence. They are now more in those independent music stores that you see. And the generations seem to be kind of buying into, and the artists seem to be pressing, like limited runs, which they haven't been doing for the last 20 years. So that's really interesting. If you look at Britpop, so Britpop's come back.
Oasis. Reunion. Did you get tickets?
No.
I wasn't interested.
I'm not sure if I would be either. I like the music. I wouldn't say I love the music. I never got into the whole dress sense, the parka and the glasses and the silly haircuts. I'm sorry, guys, if you got one. No offence, but they're just not for me. I like the idea of Britpop and Oasis. And I like the music, but I don't think I'll be going there, and I could probably give the ticket to someone who actually would have a better time. So no, I haven't gone in. But I'm glad the two Warren brothers have got together.
Yeah.
It's nice enough for their family to see reconcile of the two people there. So
Wrestling's made a resurgence. Wrestling is cool again. Obviously, a lot of the wrestlers that we used to know and love from the 90s, they've all retired, but of course you've now got the next generation, and a lot of those wrestlers' sons or daughters are now wrestling now. And well, everyone knows I'm a WWE fan by now, and if I mention Triple H, you'll know who Triple H is.
I do.
He is now the COO, creator of CCO, I can't remember, whatever those posh letters are. He's
doing something.
Head of creative.
Okay.
And he is cooking some good stuff.
Wow. And then TV shows and films. I mean, everything's a bloody remake these days.
Yeah.
And it's all of the 90s. So it's in fashion, some might say. And we thought we'd reflect and think of some of our most favourite things from the period. You've got 10 years. What's happened in those 10 years? What have we enjoyed? What takes us back? What's no longer here? Some things briefly burned bright in our childhoods, never to adorn the high streets, our shopping trolleys, or our lives again.
And it's fair to say we've slapped a Vol.1 on this one, because we were talking earlier before we started recording that actually there's so much more we could have covered. This episode would have probably been 3 to 4 hours. Quite easily.
I mean, I've lowballed this, and actually I haven't covered half of anything that I actually wanted to.
No, same.
So, it's fair to say if you're enjoying what you're listening to, you think, guys, you haven't mentioned Alex Mack. If you haven't talked about Recess, all of these things, don't worry, because you can still let us know, and then we'll do a Volume 2, and you can be part of that. What I would say is, though, we have got some of our 90s favourite children shows episode.
Yes.
So there is I haven't done a crossover. At least in my notes, Dan. We haven't talked about this, have we?
No. We've actually not shared anything of ours.
No, only the topics, not about the details. So it's going to be a surprise, I guess, for everyone, even for me, and I'm reading it out. But we'll have a link to some of our favourite 90s children TV shows, because it would be a disservice if we didn't reference that. But I'm not going to double up, because there's a whole episode on that.
We did drop it as a Vault episode if you are listening on YouTube early this year. Would have been February time, I think.
I believe so.
Yeah. So it is out there.
It is. But let's cast our mind back, Stan, and listen to some key events in the 90s.
You're going to make me feel old.
Labour wins a general election, again, on the 1st of May 1997.
Remember it well. Oddly.
Hong Kong returns to China. It was handed back. Prince Charles went over there. Big old ceremony. Where was I at the time? I think I was on holiday or something. And I remember seeing it on TV. Big event. The London Eye, Dan.
Yes.
Be on it?
Yes, I have twice. Nice views.
Good enough to go on the second time?
It was better the second time, because the first time I went on it, it hammered down with rain. So, of course, a lot of London was covered in heavy rain.
Because it goes around really slow. It takes like 40 minutes to do a full rotation, doesn't it? It's deceivingly slow. The Channel Tunnel. It opens. 6th of May 1994.
I'm enjoying this already.
It's good, isn't it? You been on Channel Tunnel?
No.
It's really good. I've been on the car one. That's odd. You drive in and it's only really the width of a car and a half. And then you shimmy past all these cars and you get to the carriages, train carriages, and you've got your dining car and your seats, like a bus. It's odd. That's if you're taking your car, mind. Otherwise, you've got the Eurotunnel.
Yes.
It's good fun. Of course, then we talked about it. Britpop, Girl Power, Mr. Blobby, Netscape, Champagne Supernovas, and Ross and Rachel from Friends, amongst others.
Of course.
Important things that have happened in the 90s.
It's just starting to rain. There isn't white noise that you can hear. It's just the pitter-patter
on the roof.
Of the roof. We've got some apocalyptic-looking clouds on the south coast.
And I wanted to, before we get into our subjects, Dan, just talk a couple of subjects about some of the odd things that weren't commonplace in the 90s. But they are the best in the 90s. These days, if you want to find someone and their telephone number, unless you are a super sleuth or a stalker, it's very difficult to do so, right?
Yeah.
If you see someone at work, I'm not saying I have thought this, by the way, in case of my colleagues listening, it's very weird for me to say this out loud. I don't think this. Just think of example. HR, don't come for me. But if you scrap that, move away from that. I'm going to get myself fired. If you want to try and find, this is bad. You want to try and find someone, and they're not on social media and they haven't given you the phone number, there's no chance.
No.
However, back in the 90s, there were these tomes that were delivered to your door every 6 or 9 months or a year. And they were directory inquiries.
Yeah, I remember them.
And they had your fucking name in there, Dan.
Had your name, didn't have the address.
I think you had the first line of the address, for sure. And your telephone number.
Which is mad. That's like GDPR nightmare these days.
100%. You know, I'm not sure if I'd quite consent. I don't think you could opt out. I'm not sure if anyone out there knows, but I don't think you could ever opt out. And if you could, it's probably a written process that would take probably months, and they'd probably never receive anyway. But yeah, you had a book. If I want to try and find Mr. Everett, I would go all the way to E, I'd look down, and there you are.
Yeah.
And I would dial your number. And you, scarily, would pick up the fucking phone, Dan. These days, it's symbolic of a Gen Z, or Gen Z, we don't pick up mobile phone calls.
It was a prank caller's dream, though. I used to do some prank phone calls. Just go down the list, find the person who wanted a prank phone call. Obviously, you'd look for the parent's name, call up. Oh, yeah, there's such and such there. And when that person then came onto the phone, that's when you'd prank them.
Yeah, sucker.
I was a horrible child, clearly.
We all did it to some extent. But yeah, just how weird. And then I don't really remember when that kind of phased out. I guess towards the end of the 90s, because mobile phones were a thing.
Yes.
And actually, you didn't really need it. Everyone had it in their pocket, which is one of the things I'll come to in a second. CFAX.
I remember CFAX.
Do you?
Yeah.
So for the uninitiated, and there may be some of our listeners who don't know what the hell CFAX is.
Teletext.
Yeah, so you'd go on to another input on your TV, and it would be a different kind of CFAX depending on the channel you were on.
Yeah.
So I think if you're on the BBC channels and you click like the red button effectively, you'd have the BBC CFAX, is that right?
Yeah.
And then if you went onto ITV,
I know Channel 4 had one.
Thames.
They had we used to play a game, Bamboozled. It was like 15 questions, and it would change every week. And you had to choose, I think it was like red, yellow, green or blue, or whatever was on the remote. And you had to try and get the right answer, try to get through to the end. Not that you ever got anything from it.
No.
Just the satisfaction you got 15 questions right.
But it was weirdly satisfying. It was like the old CRT rear projection TV, so these big massive things with a pixelated kind of almost like an internet page, really.
Yeah.
And you press the corresponding number on your handset keypad to go to that page, and if you memorised what the page was, you just type it in, and it'll go to cinema viewings. Put it down. Or it'll go to, I don't know, the latest film football scores, or it'll go to the news, and it was a wonderful resource. Really odd. And actually, I think some people have tried to restore that and put it in the internet and keep it alive.
Yeah. Now you mentioned the football scores. I still remember on a Saturday, if I was there at home with my dad, he'd always be flicking backwards and forwards.
And it'd be on because it'd be on 5 Live. I don't remember what time he does it, but they'll read out the whole of the results. Yeah. And now this is the Conference League 1 scores. Macclesfield 1, Sheffield 0.
That's a great impression.
And it's that whole... Thank you.
He had a really sultry, deep voice, didn't he?
It made me fall asleep on many a car journey home listening to that, and they're a dull 10 or 15 minutes. Bless him. But that was only like 20 pages worth of CFAX pages. It was really weird, but really a really useful resource pre-internet. Windows Media Player visualizations. Do you remember downloading that probably not paid for music from the pirate players of choice, and you'd play it on Windows Media, and it had almost like these psychedelic, squiggly things that would play to the music?
Yeah,
remember that?
I do. Yeah, although I didn't have a computer until 2000.
Okay.
But of course, do fondly remember the sound of dial-up, and of course. My uncle came over. Again, I know I'm sort of veering away from the 90s here. As I mentioned, didn't get our first computer until 2000. But he was like, you need to download Napster. You can get free music on it.
Cool,
not realising
it
was illegal at the time. And of course, there was a whole big thing, Metallica suing the shit out of everyone.
Oh, right.
But
see how that turned out.
And that probably gave the family computer many viruses, not just ours, but across the world.
Not to mention all the porn you were watching and downloading.
You're on to me.
I say that coming from being in a position of a teenager with dial-up as well. Anyway, let's not dwell on that. 10p a text message.
Yeah.
And your pay-as-you-go mobile phones. I had my first mobile phone, I was really lucky, I think in 99. It was a hand-me-down from my sister. I can never get a new one. They're quite expensive. Not terribly, but they were expensive. But you get your minutes off the back of a scratch card and down from the corner shop.
You'd call it up, you'd dial it in.
Yeah. Key number with a hashtag, and then it'll credit your phone with the minutes. So it'd be £10 worth of whatever you spend it on. It's 10p a text message.
Yes.
Which is quite expensive. And then you'd have to then look at your balance and go, well, how many times can I text this girl? Because I'm running out of text messages.
Yeah.
And you have to say, sorry, I've run out of credit. This is my last message. Until I get some more, I'll speak to you in a week.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is.
I mean, a lot of people are on contracts now, but I think a lot of networks, even if you are on pay-as-you-go, it's just a package now, isn't it? You top up a £10 a month and they give you, I don't know, X amount of minutes, X amount of text and a bit of data.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not always as good as a contract per se, but yeah. So much simpler now. Can you imagine having 5,000 text messages to dick around with back in the 90s?
I'm sure it would have gone quickly. The amount of text messages I was firing out, I mean, my hands are buggered. my fingers have got RSI. They are withered to nubs. You know, the big old 3210.
Yeah.
Click, 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 click.
Yeah.
Click, click, click for a C. Click for an A. Click, 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 click for an F. You know what I mean? Like you just dance around that keypad.
Yeah.
With that glow lighting up your bedroom at night while you're texting your friends.
Just talking to Nokias, do you remember making your own ringtones?
I do. And
good times.
And when you reference the websites, you could then find the cheat sheets.
Yeah.
Like, I think I worked out how to do Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the intro.
Amazing.
Dun, 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 dun. Anyway, and it's so good. Because you don't want to pay for your own ringtones, do you?
No.
They're like £3. Well, that's like 30 different text messages I could send. I'm not going to spend 30 text messages on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I'm going to do it myself. Never sounds as good, though.
No.
You couldn't quite get the tones. This is an interesting one. You could be out of the house for 10 hours without contact with a parent. Go out in the morning with maybe a bottle of water if you're lucky, clutched in your hand. And you'd come back all sweaty, dirty, but relatively safe. 10 hours later, your dinner's on the table. Did you have a nice day, dear? Yeah, I did, thanks. I was in the woods. Okay, cool. And that was it.
Can't do it now.
It seems, I don't know whether, we've become more alive to the worries or concerns, or the world's become a more dangerous place.
I think
it could be a combination of both.
Throw social media into it, they're murky waters, really.
But don't get me wrong, like, there were bad people around in the 90s, and people probably could have, avoided going missing or getting hurt. Don't get me wrong, but nowadays you'd never dream of sending a kid out not knowing where they were. I mean, some people do, and that's a definitely different conversation topical. But you would never dream about sending a child out to the woods to go and play and build dens and go on rope swings and play tennis on the weird, decrepit tennis courts covered in leaves. But yet we did. And I loved it.
Yeah. Oddly, I was thinking about this the other day. Like, in the 90s, you'd go out into the street and there would be kids all up and down the road just playing, mucking around, and obviously you'd go and join in.
Yeah.
You don't see that anymore.
No.
Or you go down the park. I mean, the park was like 10 minutes from my house where I lived growing up. So I lived in the heart of Portsmouth, a little area called North End. It's just like rows and rows of streets. And it was like a park. You would go down there. But yeah, it's just not like that anymore.
It's not. And there's multiple reasons why. It's a different place and time now. But anyway, that's something I'm lamenting. And then the last one down, listener. Freddos. They were actually 10 pence.
Got to remortgage the house now for a Freddo.
Well, apparently, I've looked on a reputable website of a retailer and they're 30 pence.
No way. Inflation.
That's still bad, though.
That's still a lot of money.
There's no way that should be 30p a piece. That should
just a lump of chocolate with a frog's face on it.
It should at best be 15p.
Yeah.
Not 30? Daylight robbery.
They're probably smaller now. Less sugar.
Yeah. I mean, still not good for you, but yeah, less sugar. Sugar tax.
Yeah.
Lots of sugar, actually, in the 90s. Sunny D.
Yeah. Didn't it turn a girl orange?
I think that's an urban myth.
It can't be.
But
I need to have a look.
I think many a child's teeth had fallen out or had cavities as a result of Sunny D. They were laden to the hilt with sugar and colourings, and I think people bounced off the walls because of it. I think we had it for a couple of months ourselves before the news started to report that people were becoming ill, so we no longer got it.
I've just googled it. So this is on Wikipedia, of course, the most reliable website on the internet.
Not that anyone can edit that.
In December 1999, according to a report by BBC News, the negative publicity escalated when a Sunny D television commercial showing a snowman turning orange was released. At about the same time as reports of a 4-year-old girl who experienced her skin turning orange due to the product's use of beta-carotene for colour.
Oh, God.
After drinking an estimated 1.5 litres of Sunny D a day.
Now, that is a lot in today's standards of drinking, but 1.5 litres of liquid isn't loads.
No.
So she was smashing it individually, but she wasn't smashing too much liquid.
No.
That's bad.
That is really bad.
That's really bad. So those are some miscellaneous things and also some key events from the 90s. But shall we get into the categories, Dan?
Yes, let's do it.
Toys, Dan.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about a brand of handheld digital pets.
This is on my list.
That was created in Japan by Akira Yokoi of Wiz and Akamata of Bandai. We'll talk about Tamagotchi.
Or Egg Watch.
Released by Bandai on 23rd November 96 in Japan, in the US on the 1st of May 1997, became one of the biggest toys which you could not find for love nor money in that Christmas.
Nope.
Interesting enough, though, they did replenish pretty quickly. So you could get it, I think, in the spring of the following year, 98. But most Tamagotchi... perhaps we should explain what Tamagotchi was. Effectively, it was a small plastic...
egg. It was always like a
almost
flat
like an
egg
egg
shape, wasn't it?
Yeah. And with an like a pixelated LCD screen.
And about 3 or 4 buttons, I seem to recall.
You don't need anything more than that.
That's it.
And effectively, use those buttons to navigate some very rudimentary menus. Feed, sleep, play. Is that it?
I think that was it, really, wasn't it? And you had to
What else
walk
could you
with
do?
it as well, because it had a
pedometer thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And effectively, what you'll do is you pick... Well, I don't think you could pick... The basic ones, you can pick your animal, your monster. It would just hatch randomly, wouldn't it? And then you would be nudged in making a sound or something.
Yes.
Every, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 minutes or an hour, depending what you wanted. And you had to interact with it. So if it was hungry, you had to press the button for feeding. If you overfed it, I think you could kill it.
Yeah.
And if you didn't walk it, you could kill it. And if you didn't play with it, it gets sad and it would die.
It was quite bleak, really, when you think about it.
And I seem to recall getting it for, I think it was spring in 98. And it was in my pocket. And I thought, I'll just check on my Tamagotchi, and it died. Sad.
Oh.
I was walking to school. I thought, okay, I'll do a new one. Because you could. So you hatch
just
the
start
egg.
all again.
Yeah, you click the button, reset, hatch the egg, and then I play with it, fed it, and then it went to sleep. Brilliant. Back in my pocket. I'm not going to wake it up. I needed to sleep because, I'm going to school. Walked home. Went to go and wake it up. It's dead. I was like, are you kidding me? It cannot go through a whole school day without me needing to interact with it. What shit is this? I don't look after something like that. Fast forward 30 years, and that's exactly what I've got. I've got 2 of them, and they're called children. But it's a different thing. Maybe perhaps it's a good thing that I didn't have kids at that young age because I didn't want to look after them. But yeah, you had to maintain this like 8-pixeled thing with what looks like eyes and a mouth.
It was a little blob, wasn't it? It started off as a little blob, and then it would turn into a creature. Because I got my first Tamagotchi just before I started senior school. So it was the summer holidays before I went into year 7. I think my auntie had bought me one for, I don't know, to keep me occupied. I don't know why my auntie bought me one. I don't know why it wasn't my parents, but anyway.
Better that than drugs.
And mine started off as a little blob, and you had 2 choices the way you fed it. So it'd be veggies or meat.
Oh yes, you're right. Yeah, little carrots or those like little steaks, wasn't it?
But mine dictated on what sort of dinosaur it was going to grow into.
Okay.
I kept feeding mine chicken legs, and then it turned into a Tyrannosaurus.
Oh, cool. Is that how it worked?
That's how mine worked.
Okay,
I don't think mine was quite an official Tamagotchi per se. But that's how...
Bootleg.
Very clever. So anyway, between me and my mum, we looked at this thing, we treasured it, we nourished it, we trained it, we walked it.
Oh, lovely.
We kept it alive, and 15 days later it's dead.
That's quite some going.
It was just a little dinosaur, and it had a little halo above its head, and I was like, Mum, you've killed it. So I didn't do anything. I just pulled it out of my pocket, and it's just dead.
Is that the shelf life for Tamagotchi? 2 weeks?
Mine was 2 weeks. Yeah, so we looked in the instructions anyway, got the manual out. It said, if your pet dies with a halo above its head, it means it's reached its life. I was like,
oh, wow.
Oh, okay. And then, of course, started again. But by that time, after 2 weeks, I was bored. Typical, 12-year-old. But anyway, another story. My cousin had one. Well, he had quite a few, actually. But he had one prize Tamagotchi. And I remember him passing me this Tamagotchi. And I'm looking at, this is really cool. I accidentally dropped it. Guess what? I killed it.
By dropping it?
Yeah.
So it's got like an altimeter as well. So if you drop it in those... Or was it just you just killed the inside of it?
I don't know. Well, I mean, it restarted back to this little egg to hatch to a blob, and he was devastated.
I'm not surprised.
What a bad cousin.
Killing off his Tamagotchi.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not good.
No. Well, interesting facts. As of June 23, so last year, over 91 million units apparently have estimated being sold worldwide.
That's incredible.
It's got to be more than that, because think how many were being bootlegged down the market. So it's got to be upwards of that. I'd say even double that. But 91 million units apparently. Now, yes, most Tamagotchi are housed in a small egg-shaped handheld video game with an interface consisting of 3 buttons, with a Tamagotchi Pix adding a shutter on the top to activate the camera, apparently. I never had a camera one.
No.
But apparently there is. Now, according to Bandai, the name is portmanteau, combining the 2 Japanese words tamago, which means egg, and uochi, which is watch. And after the original English spelling of watch, the name is sometimes Romanicized? I don't even know what that means. Doing it down. As Tamagotchi without the I in Japan. Most Tamagotchi character names end in chi or chi in Japanese, with few exceptions. Now, when releasing Tamagotchi in Japan, Bandai initially marketed them exclusively as teenage girls.
Oh, okay.
I know. Bandai and Wiz would later create a masculine counterpart to the Tamagotchi, the digital monster, which would spawn the Digimon franchise.
Oh,
and then, of course,
cool.
Digimon then came out of it, which was a kind of a fringe kind of TV show, wasn't it, Digimon?
Yeah. I think a lot of people thought it was like a rip-off of Pokemon, but it was its own thing.
It was. I didn't know, but yeah, it came from Tamagotchi.
Well, my toy, obviously Tamagotchi was on my list, but I've chosen Mighty Max.
That rings a bell.
Mighty Max was a series of toys that were manufactured by Bluebird Toys plc in the UK in 1992. The toys were similar to the earlier Polly Pocket toy line, but these toys were marketed primarily towards young boys. The original toy line consisted mainly of Doom Zones and Horror Heads. Now, Doom Zones were small play sets.
Oh, I had these.
Yeah, I say you must have done. So Doom Zones were small play zones with a horror theme and featured miniature figurines of menacing creatures and the hero Max.
I fucking love this TV show.
Yeah, it was good, wasn't it?
How I forgot all about this. This was amazing. And the comics as well were fantastic.
Alex is currently lovingly looking over images of...
I love this because we haven't talked about this.
No.
But on the image there you got Mighty Max with his big M and his red cap. You got this weird kind of chicken thing who I guess is the lead and one of the leaders. And you got the cool samurai guy.
Those two were usually like little sidekicks in like the massive play sets, which was quite cool. I think more in later series.
Oh, I've got to watch this on it's on YouTube apparently.
Nice.
Oh my god, that's amazing. Sorry, Dan, tell me, go on.
So you had Max, who was a young boy with blonde hair, jeans, and a white T-shirt with a red M on it and a baseball cap. But the colour would vary of his cap based on the playset purchased, which also had a little M on it. I remember my first one, actually. Max had the coloured cap, but the rest of the figurine was orange.
Right.
And I remember my cousin sort of getting a load of these things, and of course Max was then coloured in, and I was gutted that I had this orange one.
How did I forget this?
The horror heads were smaller size playsets, all shaped like the heads of creatures and contained miniature figurines. And of course, as you mentioned, it was later adapted into a TV series as well as time video game, The Adventures of Mighty Max, which was produced by Ocean Software. There you go, it's a bit of a throwback.
Oh, right.
For the SNES and Mega Drive / Genesis. So the memorable series I remember as a kid growing up was Series 1. So you had Mighty Max Slays the Doom Dragon, Mighty Max Trapped by Arachnoid. This was the first one I ever got, which was Mighty Max Terminates Wolfship 7, which was like a rocky-looking wolf thing, and little ears came out.
Yeah.
Mighty Max Liquidates the Ice Alien. Mighty Max Escapes from Skull Dungeon. That was the last one that I got of the series. And Mighty Max Conquers the Temple of Venom. There were much larger, less portable sets, and the one that I had was Mighty Max Trapped in Skull Mountain, this big red thing, and I got it for Christmas in 1993.
Lucky boy.
I was a lucky boy. My nan, bless her, really spoiled me while I was an only child, and then of course my brother came along in 94.
Wow.
But yeah, Mighty Max. I remember at one point in the mid-90s, we got fish, and I used some of those little figurines at the bottom of the tank. Probably not the best thing to do, but...
With the plastic erosion, I'm sure they thanked you for it.
Yeah.
But,
all those microplastics, those poor fish.
Wow. That's a blast from the past. Well done, Dan. That's a good shout. Mighty Max. I'm going to go to, perhaps not so cool retrospectively, this little guy. I'm going to play you an advert.
Let's do it.
Help! We've been robbed!
Stop! Stop, evildoers!
Introducing super stretching superhero Stretch Armstrong. Yes, Stretch Armstrong. Now stretching fun farther than ever before. He bends, he stretches, even ties and knots, but always returns to his original shape.
How's he do that?
He's been doing that since he was a kid. Stretch Armstrong from Cap Toys. Who else?
Look at that big, cheesy plastic face. But Stretch Armstrong, what a toy. I never had Stretch Armstrong. I had the dog. I had Fetch.
Did you not?
Yeah.
So I did, and actually, it didn't get an awful lot of playtime. Maybe because you can't really do an awful lot with it. It's quite... I remember it being, back in the 90s at least anyway, quite a bulky thing. It wasn't something you could play with very easy. It's quite awkward. And yes, you did stretch it. Although, admittedly, I must have done something wrong because I stretched it so much, it split in the armpit.
Yeah.
And the white gel oozed out, and I freaked out, like, is this stuff going to kill me? Like, am I allowed to touch this? And, like, my dad didn't know what it was. He said, spin it, we'll get you a new one. Never did. So short-lived. But, yeah, Stretch Armstrong, that was a thing. You probably didn't get that, listener, from the advert, but effectively it's this flesh-coloured, odd-looking Caucasian guy with big... yellow 90s hair, and you can probably stretch him out about a metre, and as obviously you stretch it out, it becomes thinner as the limbs are elongated, but the whole premise is that he can, a bit like Mr. Fantastic, he can stretch out and grab people, and he can morph himself into really awkward positions, and it is a gel-filled action figure is the official title. In 2016, in New York Fair, Hasbro announced a return of the Armstrong toy in its original 1976 design. Now, it is made of a latex rubber filled with proprietary gelled substance, which in itself sounds quite carcinogenic if you're not willing to tell us what it was. Similar to corn syrup, it says here, which allows it to retain the shape for a short time before shrinking back to its original shape. Unless you're Alex and you split it and it oozes out onto your hands. Now, Stretch Armstrong is an action figure shaped as a short, muscular man, yes, with blonde hair, wearing black trunks. Don't forget the trunks. The doll's most notable feature is that it can be stretched from its normal size of about 15 inches to 4 or 5 feet. Now, it says here if a tear does develop, it could be fixed with adhesive bandage. I wasn't told that. Information on how to repair Stretch is provided in the toy's instruction booklet, of course, which I ditched. But as I say, it was a bit short-lived. I was duped by the adverts on TV. Yeah. I think it's fair to say. And if you think about all the toys that I had, that was the least played with because, well, I have to stretch it a couple of times. That's it.
You're sort of bored.
It's not like Lego where you can play with your imagination. You can play with all your toys' imagination, don't get me wrong. But if you get bored, you go, well, I'm going to change that out, or I'm going to break that down and build something new. With Stretch Armstrong, once you stretched him out, that was it. And it was cool, but I think for me it was quintessentially the 90s. I'm not saying it's one of my most favourite beloved toys, but I remember really wanting it. I had a hankering for it for ages. I got it, and I played for it for about 3 weeks and got a split and never played with it again.
He saw the bin.
He did.
Yeah, so I had Fetch Armstrong, his canine companion.
Fetch Armstrong. Nice play on words there.
He had a similar little black vest with the S on it, and
right.
Just a dog, just smaller limbs, and see once you sort of stretch him a couple of times, that was it. And I think I had the same issue. He split eventually, and the weird corn syrupy goo stuff came out. And I think if you let it harden, you could then like nip the crap off and then carry on. But yeah, I think mine saw the same demise, which was the bin eventually.
Not good.
Poor Fetch. And poor Stretch.
Poor Poor Stretch and Fetch. I got one more toy, Dan. Have you got any more?
I've got a computer game, if that counts, or we're going to leave that for a bit later.
No, go for it. It's entertainment, it's games.
Let's do it. So I've chosen Pokemon Red and Blue.
Oh, right, yes.
I know, it's a bit of a classic, it's a bit obvious, but hey.
No, I've recently downloaded Red.
Have you?
Yeah. It's not as good as I remember.
But, I mean, the Game Boy.
Oh.
What a joy.
Yeah, phenomenal.
We've talked about it before. I had the big chunky one, but I had the yellow version. And there was a year, it was 1999, I remember it well. My parents taking me out of school. We were going to go to Florida, and of course, someone somewhere had lost my passport.
Oh,
so
was that you?
I don't know. Well, I can't really remember the whole saga, but I remember couldn't go. So my dad and my brother fly over to Orlando.
They left you.
Me and my mum, and we were going to go into London. Get my new passport,
yes,
and then fly
Join
over.
them later.
We did get there eventually. It only took like 3 days to get it all sorted. But my auntie and my uncle picked me up. I was obviously devastated because I thought I was going to America. And my cousin, who was there, he was like, "Well, I've got Pokemon Red and Blue. I'm playing Red. Well, why don't you play Blue? And you can just borrow it." I was like, "Cool."
It's very kind of your cousin.
So of course we were then trading between the Game Boys and Pokemons, which you couldn't get on the respective colour per se, and it just kept me occupied for so long. Especially on the pool days when I did get to Florida.
Yeah.
When my parents were like, we're just going to sit by the pool today and get smashed, and I'd be like, okay, well I'm just going to roam Kanto. Happy days.
You do you. Because I linked mine up to the N64 when I had Pokemon Stadium.
Yeah, you could do that.
And that was sick.
Because you had the adapter which went into the bottom of the controller, and then you put in red or blue, and then you transfer your Pokemon over.
I think I borrowed a friend's because I didn't want to buy all the peripheries just for one-off. Because I think I finished Red, or I didn't really want to play it again or level up my my Pokemon. But I managed to unlock Mewtwo.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is going to be sick on Stadium, because it was teased, you could see, I think, on the adverts for the N64. So I borrowed it for a friend, took it home, put the cartridge in, installed. I think I didn't have a Charizard. I had what's the leaf one? The end evolved
Venusaur.
Yeah, Venusaur. And I had that, and he was awesome. He was an absolute tank. And I had Mewtwo, and I rinsed. It's effectively a cheat, because anything that comes up against your end stage Pokemon really is going to go the distance, especially if you've got Mewtwo in there as well.
Yeah.
You only pull out Mewtwo at the very end when you've run out of all of your potions and you're on your last legs. You're like, you know what? I'm just going to finish this with a heavy hitter. And that was such a cool thing that they did. Such forward thinking from Nintendo, fantastic. But yeah, I loved Red. I thought it was a brilliant game. Lost many an hour. Arguably, that probably should have given me the need for glasses. The amount I was staring at it, but it was a wonderful game.
That little square screen on the Game Boy.
Still upstairs in my loft.
Oh, awesome!
With the box.
I don't know where mine is.
With the box, and I've got I think I had a green, but it wasn't the coloured. So the physical handset was colour, but it was still black screen.
Oh,
I loved it.
That's a bit of a context for if anyone that isn't familiar with Pokemon Red or Blue. I mean, you should be. The player controls the protagonist from an overhead perspective and navigates the fictional region of Kanto in a quest to master Pokemon battling. The goal is to become the champion of the Indigo League by defeating the 8 gym leaders and the top Pokemon trainers in the land, the Elite Four. Another objective is to complete the Pokédex and an in-game encyclopedia by obtaining all 151 Pokemon. I was quite lucky. I did get Mew from a friend.
Did you?
Yeah.
Wow. Good friend.
Red and Blue uses the Game Link cable, which connects 2 Game Boy systems and allows Pokemon to be traded or battled between games. Both versions feature the same plot, and while they can be played separately, players must trade between both games to obtain all of the original 151.
There you go.
I'd lost so many hours. It was so good.
What a lovely thing it was. The OG.
Yeah.
Well, actually, since you've talked about what was it, Max?
Yeah.
Was Mighty Max? Mighty Max. You already kind of referenced it, but if I go back to the original, which is Polly Pocket,
Okay.
shall we have a little listen to the advert?
Let's do it.
I'm Polly Pocket. Want to see what's new? Really fun compacts just for you. Polly Pocket has a stage where she dances ballet in her shiny tutu, so pretty today. Polly Pocket. Polly's water fun park, a big slide for the pair. Then happy birthday, surprise, it's a bear. Polly Pocket. Polly Pocket. Now there's lots more ways to have a Polly day. Polly Pocket Party Time Surprise, Water Fun Park, and Ballerina Polly Compacts are each sold separately.
Do they do that these days, where they talk really fast to cram in all the information at the end of the advert?
I don't think there's ever really any toy adverts on TV these days, unless I'm missing something.
They are on in UK Channel 5's. It's in there, and usually it ramped up during the Christmas period.
Of course.
As it
Which
usually
makes
is.
sense.
But no, that's Polly Pocket. So Polly Pocket was a toy line that took the 90s by storm, capturing the hearts of countless young girls, and apparently Alex as well, across the globe.
The jingle's catchy as hell.
Yeah, no indeed. Developed by Bluebird Toys, the line gained widespread acclaim for its unique and engaging features that set it apart from the other dolls at the time. Now, one of the defining characteristics of the Polly Pocket dolls was the miniature size, which made them perfect for imaginative and immersive play. This allowed girls, and Alex, to transport their dolls wherever they want, creating endless possibilities for exciting adventures and experiences. Now, the Polly Pocket line includes an array of playsets that were specifically designed to accommodate the doll's petite size, and the Pocket World and School Bus playsets were among the most popular, allowing girls and Alex to create intricate and detailed environments for their dolls to explore. And look, just for absolute clarity,
You were borrowing your sister's Polly Pockets, right?
Yeah. So she had about 7 or 8, but she couldn't play with all 7 or 8 at a time. You know, well, I guess I would if I was a boy, to have all my toys out at the same time. But she was very structured play, and she'd have each of them, and they were effectively like little shells, and you open them up like little clasps, and they were multi-story buildings inside, and there were little plastic bits, the little figures which would bend, and you had their little ice creams, or their ice cream stalls, or they had the various different paraphernalia, and invariably they all get lost anyway. But they were quite cool, because they were a whole play set, no bigger than the size of your palm now, and you could put it in your pocket, as is the nature of the thing, and you'd go out for the day. If you got bored, you'd open it and you'd play. And yeah, it wasn't, and I moved on to Mighty Max, but the pure simple principle of being able to take the toy, put it in your pocket, and then just open it up, and it'd be the whole, it's like a little doll's house just there for you to become immersed in. It was so simple and yet so genius.
Yeah.
As I say, my sister had loads of them, and I used to, I think, intersperse my Mighty Max characters with the Polly Pocket ones.
Yeah.
So then I had a whole multiverse of pocket toys that I could just play havoc with, and I loved it. It was so good. Did you have any Polly Pockets? Did you have your cousins or relatives have any?
I used to go to my mum's friend's house a lot, and she had 2 daughters, and of course, when they don't have boys' toys to play around with, you would end up playing with the Barbies and the Polly Pockets. It just happens, As a kid, you've got a creative mind.
There's so much you can do.
An imagination. That's what it's called.
Indeed.
Yeah. In fact, actually, talking of like Polly Pockets and Mighty Maxes, in the mid-90s, Marvel released 4 of them for X-Men.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I got them for one of my birthdays. I think it would have been 96.
Well, you had a good childhood.
95, 96. And they all connected. I can't remember what each theme looked like, but I think one of them was the Blackbird, but it would open up and have Magneto and a Beast, and one of them had a Sabretooth and a Wolverine. Yeah. I was obviously very spoilt as a kid. Oh, it sounds like I'm spoilt. but
Lucky.
We only made do with what we got, really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, we weren't that well off. I think I was just very fortunate that
When it mattered.
when
it
it
counted.
mattered. Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking of Milkshake, Dan. Milkshake, the morning TV kids program.
Oh, okay.
So if you're ever up at that time, the ungodly hour. I mean, I question why you're watching kids TV without kids at that time. But if you did, they do have those adverts. But I don't recall them talking super fast to cram in all the blurb at the final 5 seconds. But anyway, don't make it like you used to. That was Polly Pockets. I'm now going over to shopping and retail. Have you got anything on?
I haven't, but
High
I've
Street
just
of UCL?
caught my eye on one of them on your list, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot we can talk about on that subject.
Woolworths.
Just shop of dreams, pick and mix, computer games, toys.
The toy section was, at least in Portsmouth, a bit back in Croydon where I grew up, it was massive. I don't know if it was the same for all of them, but they usually had a wider range or array of toys. Racks and racks and aisles full. And if you didn't have a Toys R Us, you go to a Woolworths, right? That was your
Yeah.
next go-to.
I'm trying to think what Woolworths was replaced by after they shut down in Commercial Road, but again, ours was quite big, and we lost it around 2006. I seem to recall 2008. They went into liquidation.
It's now
Didn't
Primark.
they? Yeah, that's it.
The Woolworths store chain was originally a division of American F.W. Woolworth Company until it sold in the 1980s, and it had more than 800 stores in the UK prior to closure, which is loads. But that's partly why they closed. Now, Woolworths sold many goods and had its own Ladybird children's clothing range, Worth It, Value range, and Chad Valley toys. Chad Valley probably is a different thing these days. They were also well known for selling pick and mix sweets, you mentioned, Dan. It was sometimes referred to as Woolies by the UK media and the general public, and occasionally its own television adverts. The British company had owned and run divisions of the Republic of Ireland until 1984 and Cyprus until 2003. Now, in that fateful year of 2008, trading of shares in Woolworths Group was suspended and its Entertainment UK subsidiaries entered administration. Deloitte closed all of the 807 Woolworths stores, resulting in 27,000 job losses, which is a real shame. And it was officially dissolved on the 13th of October 2015. Of course, it is a symbol of the credit crunch collapse in the UK at the end of 2008. It still exists as an online retailer to some extent. I don't know who really uses it. It's got to be very, very small because people just think it's no longer there, right? So why would you look for it? But there has been talks of people bringing it back because it's such an iconic symbol of the high street. The challenge is the high street's dead. So if you're bringing it back, what are you bringing it back for and for who is really a question.
22-year-old Dan's mind was blown when he went to New Zealand. Travelling
Yes,
around.
it's still there.
It was a grocery shop.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
literally
yeah.
like a Tesco.
It was when we were in 2007.
Yeah, I went 2008, and it blew my
You're
mind. I was
right.
like, what is this?
It's a massive warehouse full of food.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was so good. I can't remember where we were staying actually, and we found this Woolworths, and we were like, wow, we might as well get some food while we're here, and we can go cook it back at the B&B.
We're sure as hell not going to get your pick and mix and your
No,
toys there. It is literally a fresh food grocery.
different vibe, but yeah, it blew
Still
my
around.
mind. Obviously, seeing it going to liquidation back here at home, but actually, it was still alive very
and well.
much in New Zealand.
Kiwi land.
Yeah, sad times though when we lost that.
Yeah, it was a strong mainstay of the high street, but I think it was obviously indicative of things to come. I mean, I can't really tell you the last time I really meaningfully went for a shop down the high street. I'm surprised it's still open, really, to be honest. Another one down. Safeway.
I remember Safeway.
Do you remember Safeways?
Yes, we used to have one in North End. It is now a co-op, seem to recall.
Okay. For those who don't recall it, a British grocery brand and a former chain of supermarkets and convenience shops. The British Safeway was founded in 1962 by the American Safeway Incorporated before being sold to Argyle Foods in 1987. That was purchased by Morrison's in March 2004. Most of its 479 shops were actually branded Morrison's, with others being sold. Now, Safeway branded shops disappeared from the UK in November 2005. In November 2016, Morrison's revived the Safeway brand, which is news to me, for a range of products manufactured in the company's own factories for distribution through UK independent retailers. But I remember from a very early age, my dad used to go to Safeways.
Yeah.
It was on the Purley Way back in Croydon, which was basically an early kind of retail outlet, effectively. He used to go to Safeways or then he'd go to Sainsbury's. And that's where you perhaps couldn't get things you could in Safeways. But he went to Safeways, and I remember he actually bought a chest freezer. Not to store bodies or dead cats or weird things, but you have these big desk-sized humming things you'd have in the garage. Do you have a chest freezer?
No. I know one of my family members did.
Yeah.
They were massive.
They were gigantic.
Huge.
They had baskets in. And he bought one from Safeways. It's a Safeway freezer. It lasts for absolute bloody ages. Really good quality, actually. I mean, I shudder to think of the ozone it's probably kicking out for all those years. But it was such a good thing. But that lasted longer than the Safeways did. And I always remember it. You open it up and go, who's this made by? What's this thing in there? Oh, it's Safeways. As just one of those things, it was such a notable place to go. You'd go there every week to buy your food or to get whatever, and then it just disappeared overnight. I don't remember it transitioning, at least when I was a young boy in South Croydon. I don't remember it transitioning to Morrison's. I didn't know they bought it, because I think Morrison's kind of... they were brought to life maybe 2008, 2009, I think.
Yeah.
As an alternative. Didn't take that launch Morrison's. Was there some nonsense going on there?
I can't really remember.
I think they did. I think they had Let It Shine. That's really good advertising. Stuck in my mind. But anyway, they kind of relaunched it back in the late 2000s. That's Safeways.
Yeah.
Odd times.
I can still see the logo. That's really bizarre.
Is it orange? Is it orange?
It was orange or red. It was something like that, wasn't it? Oh, simpler time.
It was. Next subject, Dan.
Food and drink.
Let's do it.
I'm going to kick things off. Do you remember the Cadbury's Fuse Bar?
Yeah.
The original British product was a 70% solid bar of milk chocolate and 30% sliced peanuts, raisins, crisp cereal and fudge pieces suspended within it.
Which is now a picnic, is it? Or is that different?
It was. I think it's slightly different.
Okay.
But probably not too dissimilar.
Right.
I know the picnic was always a constant thing through the 90s as well.
Yes.
Fuse was Cadbury's fastest selling new chocolate bar since the launch of Cadbury's Whisper in 1983.
Whispers.
Fuse was the subject of a large marketing campaign leading to the national rollout of the product on Fuse Day, which was Tuesday the 24th of September 1996.
Wow.
40 million Fuse bars were sold in the first week of its release. In September 1999, Cadbury's launched the Miniature Heroes, which were a response to rival Marvel celebrations. Miniature Heroes contain miniature versions of various Cadbury's chocolate bars, including Fuse, which was featured in the selection until it was retired in 2004. I was fuming. Fuse bars were discontinued in November 2006. Now, I don't remember them being phased out. I just remember not seeing them again, ever. As of early 2010, there are various campaigns in progress to see it return to shelves. Now, the latest campaign was in 2015, so Cadbury launched a Twitter campaign, #CadburyCraveyard. That's clever.
Oh, wow.
Where fans could tweet the hashtag or comment on a qualifying Facebook post for which chocolate bar out of Fuse or Marble. Do you remember Marble?
Yeah, I don't think I liked it though. Out of the two, it definitely would be Fuse.
Yeah. So they could choose which one they want to resurrect for Halloween. The bar that proved to be the most popular was Fuse, and it was then recreated using the same recipe and ingredients and distributed to 100 random selected winners. So again, we've all been cheated out here. By July 2016, Cadbury had begun secret product testing and taste trials with select consumers across the UK to perfect the recipe prior to its public relaunch. And we've still not seen it.
No, we haven't.
I want my Fuse. They were delicious, and I remember my dad or my nan, whenever they went out, they'd always buy 4 or 5 of them. We had a sweet bag at my nan's house.
I think all grandparents
Yeah.
would have that drawer or that cupboard or that location that you just go help yourself, son. You keep going.
It was always in a bag, and it was hung on the door underneath the stairs.
Oh, right.
It was like a storage space, I guess, but it was just always a plastic bag. It was always full of chocolate or sweets, and every so often go up to my nan's, go straight to that sweet bag,
Get a handful.
Get my Fuse bar that I was
lovely.
craving. I'm already feeling nostalgia, getting misty-eyed here.
How's your diabetes these days?
Well, I've got high blood pressure. Does that count?
I don't know whether Fuse bars contributed to that.
I don't know, but high blood pressure.
Okay.
It's all right. It's being sorted. Listener, I'm on meds. So I've got beta blockers. It's fine.
Yeah. Happy days. What I've got now is that all of your confectionaries?
I've got one more.
Oh no, you go for it.
I've got a drink.
Yes, tell me.
Do you remember Tab Clear?
I don't.
You don't remember Tab Clear?
No.
Strangely, I do. And I remember
Is this a Mandela effect?
No.
Tab Clear.
It's real. So it was Coca-Cola's contribution to the short-lived Clear Cola movement during the early 1990s.
Oh, I don't remember this at all.
It was introduced in the United States towards the end of 1992 and in the United Kingdom early 1993 to initially positive results. Tab Clear was, however, discontinued after only a short time of marketing in 1994. Unlike most other clear soft drinks, Tab Clear contained caffeine and, according to the company, had the flavour of cola. I don't know how this works, but in 1993 I used to do gymnastics for a boys' gymnastics club, and I'd go home from school, have dinner, go do gymnastics. It was at the secondary school, which I ended up going to later on in life. And I remember after one session, my mum gave me this can of Tab Clear, and I was like, "What's this? This is interesting." Cracked it open. I was pouring into a glass. It's clear. Coke's not clear. So anyway, I'd sip this thing. Oh, this is delicious. Yes, I must have this every week.
Why are you turning into Gollum?
I don't know.
You're hunched over the microphone, sniffing your hands to illustrate your neck in this drink.
I think I'm just savouring the taste of this thing as a 38-year-old, but yeah. And I was like, I need this after every gym session now. I mean, I don't know how this works. At the time, I as a kid, I had really bad asthma and I had this steroid inhaler. I was quite a chubby kid, so I don't know how I was doing cartwheels and forward rolls, but...
What's the caffeine? I can tell you how. It's the caffeine.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's probably the caffeine.
Fuel.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was Tab Clear.
Oh, that's amazing. No, I mean, it's only around for 2 years from the sounds of it.
Yeah, I mean, in the UK, a year at most. It disappeared very quickly.
Because kids were buzzing their tits off it from the sounds of it.
Yeah, probably. I mean, you get ID'd now if you're underage for drinks like Red Bull, so... Yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
Wow. I did not remember that. But let us know, listeners, in the comments of the social media posts or on, I guess, Spotify, can send us a message if you remember Tab Clear.
Yes, do.
Did you fall foul of the caffeine hits? Were you hooked and needed to go to counselling like Dan clearly should have done, but he's reeling from not coming down from it properly?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So less caffeine and more square eyes. I'm going to talk about TV, Dan.
Yeah, let's...
My favourite and last subject.
Oddly, that was the last thing that rounds out for me, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be something on your final part of your list that's going to have some good talking points.
Okay. Well, let's start off with, I think, one of the most quintessential children's drama TV that I would often get up and watch early in the morning. I don't think I did a deep dive on this on the favourite children's TV show, so I don't think there's any kind of cross-pollination there, but I think I did reference it to some extent. But this is what hooked me when I first turned this on. I think it was on Channel 4 in the UK.
Yeah.
Let's see if you remember it, Dan.
Surf dudes with attitudes, kind of groovy, laid back moves, sky above, sand below, good vibrations, feeling mellow.
Won't give it up. Don't wanna stop. Don't wake me up. Don't wake me up if I'm dreaming. California dreams. Just let me lay here in the sun until my dream is done.
Beautiful.
Oddly, I recognise the theme song and I recognise the intro, but I don't think I ever watched it.
I loved it, and it was not often that I would manage to catch it on TV. Again, we're talking about a time where you would end up having to try and see what was on TV, either using CFAX or Radio Times. There's just no other way that we would know. And often, if you're busy, you couldn't record.
Yeah.
So you'd often miss it because you go out for the day or you get up too late in the morning and you wouldn't see it. But for those who oddly have been jarred by it, think, what is this? I think I recognise it. Well, it was an American teen sitcom that aired on the NBC, and it was part of the network's Saturday morning block, TNBC, premiering the 12th September 1992. Now, it was the same team that were behind Saved by the Bell, and the series centres on the friendship of a group of teenagers who form the fictional titular band. Now, the series ran 5 seasons, airing its final episode on the 14th of December 1996, and the series featured 40 original songs performed by the band throughout the show's run, primarily written by Steve Tyrrell. And it's kind of those TV programmes that perhaps I'm spoiling for Volume 2 or 3, but like Hang Time. Do you ever watch Hang Time?
No.
And it's a similar thing, a teen drama where they were all part of an amateur high school basketball team, but they'd all end up chilling out at the diner, and it was simple things like, I've fallen out with my best friend, and the parents say, hey, what's wrong, Dan? The groovy cool parent, where today you think they're creepy, let's talk about your feelings, and he's decided to play with someone else, and blah blah, and it was simple stuff, but it was relatable in as much as it was just talk about relationships. In the 90s, you didn't really talk about those things, so did it in the guise of teen dramas. But California Dreams was great because I didn't get to see it that often, but when I did, that theme tune hooked me in like crack straight to my veins. I loved it. I couldn't tell you what any of the episodes were, and if I watched it back now, they're probably really badly acted. And I bet your money, and no offence to the actors if you actually were doing this, I don't think any of them could have actually sung. I don't think any of them were really singers. But it still got me, and I still loved it. And it was all about the teen dramas for me, Dan. That's California Dreams. I've got another one. I'm pretty sure you've seen this one.
Yeah.
Let's have a listen to the intro for this one.
Simple,
Just do it.
effective, and it had the cool 90s graphics that we all know and love.
But surely Nike would have had an issue with that slogan. But anyway, Clarissa Explains It All, an American teen sitcom. In the series, Clarissa Darling, played by Melissa Joan Hart, who I think had the beginnings of a crush on.
Yeah, that's probably one of the earliest childhood crushes I can remember. If it wasn't Kimberly from Power Rangers.
Oh, yeah, Kimberly from Power Rangers and the Pink Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Is a teenager who addresses the audience directly, so it's fourth wall breaking, kind of, to explain the things that are happening in her life, dealing with typical adolescent concerns such as schools, boys, pimples, wearing her first training bra. That was an issue for me. As an annoying younger brother. Now, a total of 65 episodes were produced and aired from March 23rd, 1991 to 1st of October 94, with repeats airing until 2001. Now, from August 1992 onwards, the series headlined the popular Snick, which was Saturday night Nickelodeon lineup, and reruns of the show had appeared intermittently on Teen Nick's channel, which was the 90s or all that. Eventually, Nick Rewind from 2011 to 2020. And it was really odd because you didn't have programs where the actors would kind of address you directly, and it was, you know, like the brother would really annoy her and she'd slam the door and she'd turn to the audience and say, yeah, he's such a dick, isn't he, or I hate it when he does this, and you'd be like, oh, she's
Talking to me.
Talking to me. I'm part of her life now. She's confiding in me. And again, I can't tell you too much about the storylines. They are typical, I guess, middle class, white American teenage problems. Very simple problems blown out of proportion. But I always seem to remember her best friend, who was a guy, would climb in through her window on a ladder.
Yeah.
Which seems problematic, dangerous, and definitely unwanted if you're a teenage girl and a boy is trying to climb into your bedroom unannounced. I can never think that's a good thing.
90s.
Yeah.
All about the 90s.
was.
Yeah, we just talked about, you know, playing out in the streets and stuff and being out for 10 hours.
Boys climbing through your window is okay.
I can confirm I never did that, ever.
Or either as a boy climbing in or someone climbing to your window, or both.
Both.
I guess that's good, right?
I mean, to be honest, you couldn't even get up to my bedroom window anyway. My bedroom was at the back of the house, and of course you got the garden, and then you over from our garden you had the road over's garden. So,
Yeah, right.
I'd say if you
Well protected.
If you do Google Maps of North End, it literally is like rows of roads and streets and avenues, I guess.
Well, there you go. But yeah, that was Clarissa Explains It All. And whilst I have got some more, I won't talk about them because I think I'm going to save them for volume 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But teen sitcoms, I think, for me, definitely defined, along with Saved by the Bell, my 90s experience.
I think there's probably a few episodes in the future which we can sort of dive into and like pull strings on from this episode as well. I think maybe at Christmas we talk about our favourite Christmas presents growing up, so more 90s toys.
Yes.
Or we do another volume 2 of 90s television.
Oh yeah,
because I feel really inspired by some of the ones you've just mentioned, and I'm starting to get memories now of, you know, finishing.
I've got loads more. I mean, what's the TV program where you've got it wasn't Transformers, but it was Mask. Do you remember Mask?
Yes, yeah.
You got Mask. You got loads of other programs which just we haven't even touched upon that really defined my Saturday and Sunday mornings. And I don't know if we talked about Mask in children's TV.
No.
We need to look at the notes. But anyway, I think there's loads more content that we could cover. But I think for me that's a really good initial foray into what was a very magical era. Maybe
one to look at after spooky season. Do a volume 2 of TV.
Yeah, good shout.
I think we need to do it. It's been a while. It's been... when did we do that? 2019, that episode?
Yes.
Christ. So it's... time flies when you're having fun.
So it does. Should we go to listener?
Let's do it. So we put on our socials, what were your favourite things, or what do you miss from the 90s?
Yeah.
So first up we've got Ash. He said, having a decent hairline.
Oof.
I mean, I feel that pain. I've got receding hairlines as we speak. But do you remember the 90s? We'd always try and copy the latest celebrity's
Yeah.
haircut. We'll try and do the David Beckham curtains, although I've got quite wavy
I could never
hair.
do curtains because I just didn't want it to grow out.
No.
But I did have one problematic experience with... So I always went to the same hairdressers. You do, don't you?
Yeah.
You're very attached to the early hairdressers, or even your hairdresser now. And we would go there, but he was closed, or I think he'd shut up shop. And I went to another one underneath the train station at Purley Oaks, where I lived. And I went in there and said, "Oh, I want a short haircut." She went, "Okay, how short you want it?" I said, all the same length all over. But what I didn't really realise was, to her, that meant clippers all over.
Yeah.
Whereas I was used to someone using scissors and styling it in a particular way. And she would have told that when she looked at my hair and gone, "Okay, it looks like it's cut." And I hadn't been there very long, so perhaps she hadn't been hairdressing very long.
Yeah.
And then she got out the clippers. Zzz, I thought, okay, she's cutting corners, but this is fine. And she's starting at the bottom. Then she went to the top, and by then I had like a 1 all over.
Yeah.
And bear in mind,
Oh no.
I was only used to maybe a 3, but it was hand cut and styled. I wanted to cry. I was like, is that okay? And we showed in the mirror in the background. I was like, yes, thank you. Gave her the crisp £10 note. As I was walking home, I had tears streaming down my face. And I got home, and my parents were like, did you mean to have that? Basically, I had no hair. I was like, no. And obviously, rest assured, I never went back to that dickhead ever again. But it was a good lesson. It was a good lesson to be very specific when it comes to hair about what you want. So,
Yeah.
no, I could never grow any hairstyle because I got it fucking cut off because I wasn't clear enough, and I had an absolute bloody idiot of
Oh, dear.
an amateur cutting my hair with clippers.
I did have a bad haircut once. Not really a bad haircut per se, but I'm going back to 2003, and of course, when you're 17, 18,
It matters.
it matters. And I could feel, I used to have a grade 3 back and sides, and have it sort of trimmed on top. It's probably the same now, to be honest. But anyway, she's shaving the back of my hair, and I'd feel this. I was like, that didn't feel right. Obviously, you don't question it because you're too polite.
You're bleeding.
She gets the mirror out, and there's like a little bowl patch where she had gone a bit too hard. And I had to go to work the next day, and I was like, how do I cover up this little bowl patch? Nope, just own it, Dan. You're just going to have to own it. But yeah.
Wow.
Shocker.
Look, listener, if you're a hairdresser, go easy on us. But these are experiences back in the 90s, and they happened. I mean, people got to learn, right? But I just prefer they didn't learn with me. I prefer they honed their craft before they adorned my lovely curls.
I think it's fair to say I never went back to the hairdresser.
No. So no, we feel that feedback.
Yeah. Next up, we've got Chris. He says Jurassic Park.
Yeah, we talked about it many a time.
Much loved on OTT. You'll find all the episodes in our back catalogue, from film reviews, behind the scenes.
That was a really good
That was a
one.
really early OTT episode. I remember being in Ireland, I think, when we recorded that. COVID times.
That was a really good episode. We enjoyed that.
Some fascinating stuff in there. Next I've got Ellie. She says shell suits.
Yeah, there was a public service announcement. We talked about this before in, I think it was 90s TV, kids TV programmes. But I remember going to my school bonfire night. So this must have been, I'd say 1990, 1991, before I moved schools. And we went there one evening, it's just turning dark and you've got the smell of the fire in the air, and it's your school and you're not really used to your school in the dark with the lights on. You think, oh, this is weird. And you look out of a sea of kids and parents, and it's just nylon, colourful shell suits. But there came the warning of people saying, if you're wearing shell suits tonight, don't stand too close to the bonfire because you'll go up. And they were hugely flammable.
Yeah, they were.
I looked at Dad saying, Dad, are these people going to die? He went, nah, that'd be fine, son. And sure enough, it was. But yeah, I mean, everyone had a shell suit, matching top to bottom.
And they always, like I say, they were always wild colours, but I don't recall ever having a shell suit that bright. I think
No.
I remember sort of very young. I was only about 5 or 6. I remember. I think one of my uncles bought me like an Adidas shell suit, which was very. It was very smart looking, but nothing too extravagant.
I think I had like a really ugly, like greeny, turquoisey job, and that was a hand-me-down. But it was never loud. It was never the purple swirls or that are reminiscent of the time.
Yeah.
We're missing out.
Next up we've got Phil. He says the PlayStation 2. I think he's a little bit late on the PlayStation 2. I think that came out in 2000.
Yes.
But let's hold on to that thought of the PlayStation.
Put a pin in it.
We've got Mikey. He says, beat the nostalgia of this sound and sequence. Oh, wait. What a time, man.
It's beautiful.
Firing up the PlayStation 1 and getting that noise. I mean, often in the distro would always be Final Fantasy 7 for me because I love that game.
Colin McRae Rally for me.
So
good.
But do you remember sometimes it was always a pain, the disc wouldn't always load?
You'd rattle like a bastard. You put it in and go like taking off, like, oh no, is this not going to read?
You'd pull the CD out, it'd be slightly scratched, probably from something within the tray. And the remedy was toothpaste.
Oh, was it?
Remember that?
No.
You just rub a bit of toothpaste on it.
Oh, wow.
You polish it, put it back in, and
Good as
voila,
new.
it would work.
I did not know that.
But then you'd try and trade the game in later somewhere. I used to go to, it's gone now, North End, Ross Records.
Yes, I remember that, yeah.
And go in there, trade in. He would look at the disc, he would inspect it so thoroughly.
Give it a sniff and a lick and go,
exactly, and he'd be like, this is scratched. No, you're not trading that in.
This is toothpaste.
Yeah. Put toothpaste on that one. We've got Luke. He says the lack of social media.
Do you know what? I agree.
I do.
I joke at the top of the episode about Yellow Pages and someone calling you up. But your business was your own. You didn't have to announce what you're doing. And if you did, that was on MSN Messenger.
Yeah. Oh, man.
And that was on the status.
The noughties, wasn't it? But
yeah.
Yeah.
But I was on there, I think, 98, 99. But yeah, like it's... Yeah. There's no obligations to share anything unless you wanted to, and that's with your friends.
And the problem is with social media now is just arseholes all over the place. It's just so negative, and everyone's got a voice. And
why can't we all just get along?
Some people just show their true colours.
Why do you have to share your opinion? If you don't like it, move on.
Get in the bin. Get in the sea.
Get in the sea.
Next up, we've got Sarah. She says Gunge on telly, kids' TV game shows, Funhouse.
Yeah, Funhouse.
Do you remember Noel's Funhouse? Well, yeah, was it
House
Noel's
Party?
Noel's House Party.
Noel's House Party on a Saturday.
Yeah,
Saturday night before Casualty, I think, or something.
They would cart the person through this chamber, and they had to answer a series of questions. If they got them all right, it would stop, and they wouldn't get gunned.
They wouldn't get gunned.
But you'd always hope that person would get to that tank, and above them you could see this glass tank full of colourful, liquidy slime.
Again, probably hugely carcinogenic.
And then just boom, it would just dumped on them.
Yeah.
And you could just see them like seize up, like, oh my god, this stuff's really cold and slimy.
With a demonic Mr. Blobby hovering in the background, leering as he did.
When you think about Mr. Blobby, big pink thing
really
with
weird.
yellow spots
and
on
a bow tie, it's really
He's
odd.
a real creeper, really, isn't he? She also said, I met Dave Benson Phil.
Oh yeah.
And he's a legend. She's putting hashtag #GooFather.
Yeah, Dave Benson Phillips, wasn't it?
That was it.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got Joe. He says, hands down, the best cartoon I've ever watched. Absolutely incredible. And it was Ed, and Eddie. It was on Cartoon Network.
Yeah, I did watch a bit of it. Not high on my list, but I can see it was up there with, I think, Hey
Arnold.
Hey Arnold.
Which I think we talked in
and Doug.
Vol.1.
It was all of a similar ilk, wasn't it?
Yeah. Shall we put the theme song in for Ed, Ed and Neddy?
Let's do it.
We love a good soundbite, don't we?
We do.
And lastly, we've got Lewis. Last but not least, of course. He says, Pokemon on the Game Boy Color. Completed Yellow and can still remember my first Elite Four team. Yellow was almost like red and blue compacted into one, but I remember you could only choose Pikachu.
I don't know if you could only choose him, but he was definitely an option.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right.
I think it forced you to get Pikachu, but you could still get Squirtle.
It was a combination for sure.
Bulbasaur along the way, but yeah. But what a wonderful episode. We've learnt a lot about each other.
I'm now going to be spending hours that I should be working or tending to my family, just watching YouTube clips of old TV shows gone by. And kicking myself not mentioning some of my most favourite... I mean, what was the TV programme where it was set in space and it was anthropomorphic figures, like Bucky O'Hare?
Oh, yeah.
Fucking Bucky O'Hare, Dan.
Oh.
And he's in space with his blaster and he's shooting ugly son of a bitch alligator. Amazing! Why the fuck did I mention Bucky O'Hare? We've got to do a volume 2 because these things I'm just plucking out of this. We've triggered something in my subconscious and we talk about it.
Yeah, I was also thinking about the Crystal Maze along the way.
Yeah,
that was
but which version though? Because they flip-flopped between the different presenters.
Yeah.
Because you had the...
I like the one with the Oceanic Zone. Because I think they had like a futuristic and industrial zone in the original.
And a medieval.
They were so similar. They got rid of one of them, they put the ocean...
Yeah. With the threat of drowning the people.
Again, going back to the nostalgia, I did karate for some of the 90s. I'd finish karate, I'd run home, my mum would have bought me some sweets, I'd sit down, I'd get the Crystal Maze on, and it was just a full hour of pure joy.
Do you remember Fort Boyard?
No,
not many people do. That was on Channel 4 and that was of a similar ilk, and actually Fort Boyard does exist.
Oh, actually yes, I do remember
and it's on an old fort just off the west coast of France. I was there very recently, not at Fort Boyard, but where you get the ferry to it. And they had basically the Crystal Maze, but in this fort, this abandoned fort. Not commonly... Well, Channel 5 actually. It wasn't commonly watched by many people because, again, at the time, 2000s, early 90s, Channel 5 wasn't really a thing. But yeah, Fort Boyard.
Wow.
All these things we could have mentioned this and then we didn't.
Yeah. And so we'll probably do a volume 2 of this. Obviously... After spooky season, November, we'll probably do TV again. Yes. It's been a long time coming, so we'll probably pull a string on this with the toys and maybe talk about favourite Christmas films? Christmas toys?
We'll talk about films.
Yeah. But we'll talk about films as well.
But no doubt as we're talking, you've probably gone, guys, we need not talk about this, or this was even better, or this is more defining for me. As all of those other listeners, thank you again for contributing. You can contribute to those volume 2s. You haven't lost the opportunity. Still plenty of time to get involved. And let us know. We've got some contact details, Dan, haven't we?
We do. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads and TikTok, which is @OnTheTopicPod. If you follow any of those, when I put a post up, there is a link to... It's now Spotify for podcasters.
It is, yes.
You can follow through and you can leave us a voice message as well. And Alex, we've got YouTube and WordPress.
Yeah, we've got our website, ontopicpodcast.wordpress.com. Go visit and see our ugly mugs, our bios. You can stream all of our back catalogue if you don't have a podcast player of preference. We've got some bonus content in there as well. We'll probably have some for this episode, probably, where you can read some of our behind the scenes of some of our previous episodes. And you can also subscribe to our newsletter and be notified when an episode drops. And we've got YouTube. All you've got to do is search for at OTTGITS, of course, getting the C, or On Topic Podcast. Hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, and we've got every single OTT episode on there, up to 124, I think we are now.
Oh my god.
And, you can put it in the background, or you can have it whilst you're cooking, or on the TV, perhaps whilst you're doing the chores. Whatever you end up doing with YouTube, or a podcast on YouTube, do that. But what we would ask you to do is leave us a like, a subscribe, and if you can, review, because they really do mean a lot to us. And we've been doing this now for 6 years.
Yeah.
And we are still going, and we're really still enjoying it, and it wouldn't be anything like what it is without your engagement and your support. So, again, thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for contributing if you have done this week. And please continue to do so, because we love it.
We do. And say, if you can, if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. I say not every episode is for everyone.
We've got so much though.
But if you've ever got a suggestion, so I think we've got a couple of episodes coming up in probably November where we're discussing what direction we're going to take it. But one of them has come from a listener.
There we go. We love them.
As some of previous episodes.
Some of our favourite ones.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up for this week. We'll be back soon, I think, looking at the state of the MCU.
Yeah, it's an absolute mess. But can it be recovered? And what does it mean for Phase 6 and beyond?
But I'm going to head home now. I'm going to go down a rabbit hole of looking at 90s toys. I've been Dan.
And I'm going to stay away from those bonfires because I might go up in flames. I'm Alex.
Still dreaming of that tab clear. See you next time.